What would you do if you were stuck in a white empty room with no doors and windows? Hi, welcome to Emma Recaps. Today I will show you a comedy, fantasy, movie that was released in 2009 called Symbol. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A Japanese man in pajamas wakes up in a white empty room with no doors or windows and a visible ceiling. When he reaches one of the walls to check the surroundings, because he doesn't know where he is, he sees a male member having a strange penis-shaped button. After this man goes to that button and hits it twice, he presses the button, and suddenly hundreds of baby angels laughing at it come out of the floor and walls. They only stay there for a few seconds. Then they go back into the wall. But they're leaving their buttons to outside. Seeing this, the Japanese man is very scared. He is now in a stage known as learning. Touching the finger that touches the strange-shaped button, the man screams in fear, then screams, and begins to ask for help from those around him. There was no point in asking for help. He decides to start pressing different buttons to see what's going on, and every time he does, a random object different from a small toothbrush to a large bonsai tree falls into the room. By pressing the same button again, he is given the same object, and tests his concept on one particular button. That's how he gets a lot of big chopsticks. However, when he pressed the button next to the chopstick, a small cart, he comes out of the wall and hits his feet. His fun is short-lived. After he screams in pain, the next button he presses is transformed into a butt, which moves the gas over his face. A few hours later, the man gathers a large variety of random objects in the room, and when he throws a ball against the wall, it accidentally presses on a button that gives him a sushi gift. This excites him as he is starving. But he realizes that he has lost soy sauce. He begs those who catch it, but as always, because he doesn't get an answer, he presses one button over and over again because he has a bunch of sushi in front of him but still doesn't have the sauce. Then dropping it, the man starts eating sushi, which seems quite delicious to him, and after he finishes the last piece, he presses the button for more and gets angry when a bottle of soy sauce finally appears. After angrily pushing the bottle away, he presses another button and gets a pair of old-school 3D glasses. When he wears them, seeing a baby angel pointing at his pupil, the man is happy because he thinks he has found the answer. However, after pressing that particular button, he only gets a count and a giant butt that appears above to send gas onto him. A few hours later, he read 5 volumes of manga that he considered very funny, but when he pressed a button to get a 6th, he gets a 7th instead. Frustrated, he starts trying other buttons, which give him the 8 and 9 volumes, but there are no 6 yet. The last button he tries, he has an important surprise. It opens a part of the wall that hides a back door. The man celebrates this discovery, but in his enthusiasm, he loses what button opens the exit. He randomly tries one and shockingly sees an African tribal running from wall to wall, next water falling over his head. The third becomes what he wants, and as soon as the wall opens, he runs to it, only to see it close to his face. His second attempt ends the same way, and he realizes that the door remains open as long as the member nozzle is below, so they begin to try different ways to achieve this. First, he presses it with his foot and goes to the running position. Next, he hits it with a fly swatter from as far away as possible, hoping to make a difference in his running time. None of this works, and his following plan is to get into the cart and push it after pressing the button, but after a few attempts, he admits that he can't control it. All he has to do is find a way to keep the tip of the button down. He puts the big pot on it, but manages to stick the button back up. So the man concludes that it is necessary to fill the pot to weigh. First, he tries the water button, but it makes no sense. No matter how hard he tries to divert the water, it falls on him and nowhere else. The effort involves filling the pot with sushi, but it's too heavy for him to even take. The neck of the pot is too narrow to pass through his arm, so the man needs to use chopsticks and sushi. There is no choice but to remove the bunch piece by piece. Moments later, after he had removed enough, he barely manages to take a pot. So he does it exactly and brings it closer to the buttons. When he gets there, he finds that the pot has to be put down because it is lost again, and when he tries it, the African tribal comes out and accidentally hits the base, cracking it. Break it in half. This sends the man to the end, when he gets nervous and screams nonstop, finds the right button and starts covering it with sushi. This also does not work. The small member emerges among the rice. The man then tries to cover the button with tape, then covers it with tape and steel plate, but nothing works. After taking a few painkillers to deal with the pain every time the door falls on his back and falls asleep. Man wants to wash his teeth, so he presses a button to get water. Even if it's the wrong button, this reveals a rope falling from the ceiling. This instantly improves his mood as it gives him an idea for a new plan. Then, he used the rope and walked himself across the room. Make it before the door closes. Sadly, when he tries to open the door behind the fake wall, he finds it locked. He returns to the room in time before closing the door. Somehow when he goes out, it is able to hit him. Frustrated, he kicks the wall, activates a button, and reveals the key floating in the middle of the room. However, it happens with the door. Like, when the button is privileged again, it goes away, so the man you need to find a way to keep the room key and door open. However, first, because he was distracted and lost it, he had to find the button again. By observing more or less where his foot falls when he kicks the wall, as soon as he selects a button, a dog coming out of the wall starts barking at itself. The same happens with the next button, but fortunately, the third attempt is successful. While pointing his hand at his eyes and button, the man walked backwards, catches a piece of sushi fish that is taken back to the wall to mark the right button. However, when he presses it, the dog comes out again. This time he finds the button fast and goes ahead with his plan. He hangs on the rope and jumps on it to reach the various buttons, but it's still enough. When he falls to the ground, he sees a plumbing he got from one of the many buttons, and gets an idea of how to solve his little problem. He can use plumbing to touch the wall and push further. After one failed attempt, the plan goes smoothly. A combination of swing on the rope and pushing yourself out of the plumbing allows him to press the button key, hold the key, press the door button, and reach the door before closing it. He wastes no time and inserts the key into the lock, quickly turns it around, but when he tries to open the door, he sees an unpleasant surprise. There is also a separate lock at the top that requires 3 numbers to open it. The man runs out, hits the door when it closes, and in frustration, he throws a plumbing against the opposite wall and activates the button that the African tribe releases. As he watches him walk, he realizes something. 3 numbers are painted on his forehead, which must be the combination he wants. Since the time behind the door is limited, the man makes the deal of jumping and jumping on the entire rope 3 times. Must be added to each number. The third time, he stays there and opens the door. It's slightly stuck and he has to work extra hard to open it. When he finally managed to do so, the wall behind him closes, and he is trapped and there is not enough space to finish the opening of the door. The devastated man sits on the floor and begins to cry, remembering all the fun he had with the objects he received from the buttons. He was locked there too, but at least he had room for travel and entertainment, and now he realizes that he didn't appreciate what he had when he could. Suddenly, he could feel a wind coming from the left wall to his face. As soon as he touches it, he finds a crack indicating that it is a fake. He wastes no time and pushes and opens the panel. Soon Black reaches a mysterious hall floating in an area. He feels like he's spending eternity toward an exit, and eventually, when it is taken to a room, his hair is long, and the colors of the pajamas have faded. This room is empty, and as soon as he enters, the door he uses closes, but instead of the fairies, there are elderly people here, who are also invisible to the wall and leave only their pupils to use as buttons. This stage is called training. Meanwhile, in a city in Mexico, little Antonio's families are worried that the father, a wrestler known as Escargot Man, is quieter than ever. His wife thinks it may be because this next opponent is much younger than him, but Grandpa points out that what matters is experience, not youth. Escargot Man's daughter carries Sister Karen in her truck and she takes him to the wrestling ring and gives him Preparation can begin soon, which includes changing clothes and praying to the Virgin. At school, Antonio is bullied by his classmates for betting with the escargot man. He is called a weak loser. As the match approaches, Sister Karen takes her van again and takes Antonio and their grandfather to see escargot man act. However, Karen does not stay, and Antonio and his grandfather find themselves the last few seats before the show starts. The first group to enter the ring is the Northern Tough Ones, founded by Super Demon and Tequila Joe, later Escargot Man and his partner Silver Eagle. Comes under the group name Kiss Me A Lot. Silver Eagle is the first one to fight for his team with a great start, but he quickly overtakes the Northern Hardliners when they fight him together instead of fighting one by one. They were signaling to Escargot Man. He is asked to join the fight, but by Silver Eagle, Super Demon and Tequila Joe to him. He refuses to do so until he draws a trick to allow him to escape. Escargot Man soon is suppressed. But his opponent, when he is ready to hit him with a chair, when the man in the mysterious room presses a member button, Escargot magically extends his neck to man and expels both opponents with a blow to his head. In the room, nothing happens, and it attracts the attention of the man, so by pressing the same button, Silver Eagle by Escargot Man, Judge, Antonio, and even the bell pushes away. Without seeing the result, the man starts trying different buttons. One during a concert in Los Angeles, the singer of a metal band makes his audience breathe fire overhead. The other is a Russian magician. Fails his trick when he tries to make his colleague disappear. The third is a man from China. Make your dogs bark. The man is ready to give up when he sees that some light is coming from above and, unlike the last room, he sees that there is no ceiling here and sees angels flying in the distance. He decides to try something completely new this time. Instead of pressing the member buttons, he uses them to climb the walls. It works, and every time he grabs a button with his hands or every time they step on them with their feet, something amazing happens on Earth, from flowering to the death of an elephant. As he goes up, the effects become more complex. It's no longer just nature. Humanity, and there are both small and big things, such as a toaster and landing on the moon. When he goes up, the man's hair and beard were both long, and he no longer wanted to hold the wall. Now like angels to him in the former rooms. All the experiences gained from the training are available, and he can embrace the character of God and begin to randomly choose the biggest hit of humanity instead of buttons. When he's finished, he's surrounded by feathers instead of walls. He enters a shiny doorway that leads to the last room. There are continents on the walls here, and there is a large member button that the man is ready to press. This stage is called the future. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Subscribe and join us.